Hey YouTube, it's Jaden Storm coming at you again, and in this video I'm going to be talking about, as of my opinion, today, December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas, when will be, what are the top 5 decks in my opinion, and giving my reasons why they fall where they are. First of all, before I get into the top 5, I have 2 other things I want to mention. First off is the deck that I believe has no argument to be in this discussion at all, and I want to apologize in advance because it is one of my favorite clans, and it's also the clan that holds my avatar in it, if that's a spoiler for you, and that is Jewel Knights. I respect Jewel Knights. I think the deck can be good, but I do not think the deck will be a possible top 5 deck until set 14 rolls around and we get Ashley Reverse, because I don't know. The deck, it just doesn't seem to be a consistent top deck. I'm not saying that it's not capable of beating these other decks. I'm just saying it doesn't deserve a spot in the top 5 right now, simply because the deck is incomplete to me. I mean, true, you got a Break Ride, true, you got your boss in Salome, and you got Sybil that can call out of the deck, and you got... It just doesn't match up to me. This deck, I think, is still a little ways off. I think once set 14 rolls around, this deck will seriously be a top 5 deck because Ashley Reverse is stupid. And guys, it's not like I'm just shunning this deck completely. One second. As you saw in my trade binder, I have my 4 Ashleys. I am planning on building the deck, and I'm also planning on mixing it with Majesty. So, I'm sorry, Jewel Knight players, it's not your time. Honorable mention. This is the deck that if this was going to be a top 6, this would be my 6th place deck, and that is Tachikaze. Tachikaze is a very, very good deck, but the problem is if you don't draw the right combination of cards, it can literally leave you defenseless, because if you don't draw the special grade 1 that returns and you can't get your starters off to get a Tyranno Legend free plus for you, it just little things like that. It just starts to add up and it can really bite you. Now, I have been completely pulverized by this deck before because I simply just didn't draw well and they literally drew everything. That's the beauty of Vanguard. Even though a deck is not considered one of the top 5 by most players, it can still jump up and bite players, and that's what I love about the game. But I do not think Tachikaze deserves a spot in the top 5. It would deserve 6th place, which, hey, that's still not bad. Number 5, and this is the first time I have ever mentioned this deck in the top 5, and it will probably be the only time as well. And that is Spike Brothers, the Grateful Catapult build. Now, before you jump down everyone's throat, keep in mind this deck, the Break Ride is completely stupid, guys. I mean, the Break Ride allows any attacking rear guard to gain plus 10,000, and you are going to be playing your Brackies and your Juggernauts, and you're going to be able to Soul Blast and make them even stronger. So, Juggernaut Maximum, under this Break Ride alone, he's going to gain plus 10, putting him at 21, and then when he swings, you're going to Soul Blast and put him at 26 without a boost, guys. So that alone makes this deck worthy of top 5. Being able to get 5 attacks off, all of them be over 20, is simply amazing. This deck is not unbeatable. You just have to know how to play against it. Number 4, Aqua Force Last Card build. I still think this deck is really good. This deck eats away at your opponent's hand if you know how to play the deck right. It does create some great attack columns. Its Break Ride is amazing. There's a lot of pressure that this deck can push. I think this deck, it dropped a little bit with us getting set 10 because there's new things out there that I just think most people would agree with me are just a little better, but not literally by much. I mean, Last Card Revon is an amazing deck. Still considered a great deck. I mean, if you're playing Last Card Revon, don't stop playing the deck simply because people are telling you that it's no longer the top deck. Like it was a couple of weeks ago when set 10 was nowhere around and Last Card Revon and the End were literally running all over the place, and that was the only thing that really was winning. But Last Card Revon is still a top 5 deck in my opinion. Number 3, Kagero, the End. This was the #1 deck a couple of weeks ago, in my opinion, just simply because the Break Ride and the End go together so frickin' well. I love the End, and I love the Break Ride, guys. I will love this deck forever. I love the End, but this deck, it's not, as great as it is, there are other things coming out that are just as good. So, realistically, I would say the top 3 decks, the third place that I'm naming right now, the End, and the next 2, could simply be interchanged anywhere, because the top 3 decks, I think, are pretty clear-cut. But yeah, the End is pretty dumb, guys, with this Break Ride. He applies a lot of pressure, and the Break Ride is easy to pull off. You don't have to play Seal Dragons in the deck. It's just discard any 3 cards to get it off. There's not Seal Dragon in it, which makes it amazing. Number 2, Liberator Alfred. Liberators are amazing, guys. Any Vanguard that can swing for 30k with a 10k boost without a Break Ride is amazing. Alfred, guys, I'm dead serious here. If Alfred has a full field, he'll be at 11. So if there's a full field and you're on Limit Break, he'll go to 21 because of Limit Break. He'll gain 2,000 from every rear guard, so that's an additional 10,000 power. So 2 times 5 is 10. If he has the 10k booster, you're going to have 21 boosting 6, and then he gains an additional 4. So that puts him at 31,000 without being Broke Road. So he goes from 11 to 21 to 31. Guys, that is amazing. I literally cannot get over how some people said this card was not that good. I mean, Alfred not only can swing for 31 by himself without a Break Ride, he calls things out of the deck. I mean, so this is the number 2 deck in the format, in my opinion. You could say maybe the End is better at number 2 and maybe put Liberators at number 3, but this is definitely one of the top 3 decks in the format, and if you're one of those people that are saying it's not, then you really do not know much about this game, in my opinion, because it's simple that this deck is a top 5 spot. Now, I'm not saying that Alfred is the best Liberator there ever will be, but right now, for the English meta, this is simply one of the best decks to play. Cut and dry. And in my opinion, the #1 deck of the format is pretty obvious. Eradicator, Dragonic, Descendant. Guys, any Vanguard, I don't know how many times I've said this, any Vanguard that can carry an extra crit or stand back up or stand himself back up is immediately a really great deck. And this guy does not one, but both of them. He carries an extra crit if he stands up, and the chances of him doing that are very high, guys, because when you use Descendant's Limit Break, your opponent is going to be almost out of options. They're either going to be at 5 damage and not bother blocking his first attack because they're figuring, okay, if I perfect guard this attack, he's just going to stand back up and gain a crit. So then I'd have to pull 2 heal triggers as opposed to 1 to save myself. So what's the point? So, Descendant literally can make your opponent second-guess their strategy. This card is amazing. Guys, keep in mind, I've said this a lot on the channel, they switched set 10 and 11 on us just because they didn't want to see Descendant over here do what it was doing in Japan. This deck literally was winning all the time because Descendant would literally push players into a corner and they didn't have an out because they couldn't get to their turn just simply because of Descendant's Limit Break. Because keep in mind, all Descendant has to do in order to restand himself is the attack just has to not hit. I mean, you still got to pay a cost, which is Counterblast 1 and discard 3 Eradicators from your hand, but that's not hard because by now you can play an entire Eradicator deck. So it's literally Counterblast 1 card in the damage zone and discard 3 cards from your hand. And that's it. And the only requirement for you being able to use this is your attack must not hit. And if you're really smart about it, because it happened to me in the tournament today, if your opponent guards for maybe 1 to pass on the first shot, maybe when you drive check a trigger, don't give it to Descendant. Give it to a standing rear guard. Make him stand back up and gain that extra crit. There are ways you can make Descendant great and greater than he is. You just have to know how to use the deck. And it's just simply for that giant mindfuck screw thrown in there. That's a copyrighted term by me, by the way, mindfuck screw. I've never heard anyone else say it that way. I've heard mindfuck and I've heard screw, but I've never heard mindfuck screw. That's Jaden's word. That is a mindfuck screw. Going, okay, I only need one to pass. Drive check. Critical trigger. Okay, I'll give it all to my rear guard. Second check. I mean, I'm not saying maybe, okay, if it was a critical trigger, I'd go ahead and give it to Descendant. But say you pull a draw trigger. Give it to my rear guard, draw a card. Second check, another draw trigger, give it to my rear guard, draw. Now I'm going to discard 3, stand Descendant back up, and he gains a crit. I mean, there are ways you can make Descendant amazing. And if you want to play this deck and you have no idea how to play it, and you would like a couple of tips, I'd be more than happy to give them to you. I've studied this deck for a long time, and that's why I am now playing it. This literally is my new baby along with my Liberators. These are going to be the 2 decks that you see me play the most. I swear I'm going to get games up eventually, guys. I just literally have been really stretched for time getting what videos I can up. But I'm going to, before next set rolls around, I'm going to start posting games at least as often as I can, and these are going to be the decks that you see me play the most, because these are these are the 2 decks I have the best chance of winning it right now. But guys, also keep in mind, when I say these are the top 5 decks in my opinion, or I say this deck doesn't deserve to be in the conversation, or this was the honorable mention, if you play the decks that I say don't deserve their spot in the top 5, don't think that's a reason for you to stop the game. I know that sounds stop playing the deck. I know that sounds weird, but there are some players who, if they take what other people say real literal. Like, I know from my Yu-Gi-Oh days, if there are some people that when they hear someone like one of the big Yu-Gi-Oh pros say, don't play like Chaos Dragons right now, because the deck's slow, or blah, 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 blah. Even though Chaos Dragons right now would actually be a pretty good deck to play in Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's beside my point. And they literally refuse to play the deck because someone else said so. It's the same thing in Vanguard. If you play Jewel Knights right now, and the deck's working for you, hey, great. I give you double thumbs up for playing what you like, and you stick with it, even if it's not the best deck in the format, or has the best weapons right now. I give you props, thumbs up, and if I could, I'd give you a high five. I love it when people do things because it's what they want, not because what they're told to do. So definitely, if you are playing a deck that is outside this top 5, or one of the decks, like you're saying you're playing Tachikaze, and it's like, well, I want to be in the top 5, so I better build Aqua Force for the end, or something else, stick with Tachikaze. If you're playing Jewel Knights and that's what you want to play, stick with it. I'm not saying you can't build another deck, but just keep in mind that I'm never trying to insult players who don't play the decks that I'm saying are the top 5 decks. I just don't want that ever to come across, so I'm sorry that I repeat that in every single one of these videos, but I just want it to be very clear that I'm never trying to insult anybody. I'm just giving my opinion. And letting you know these are the best decks in my opinion, and this is what I think is going to be out there the most for the English meta. But anyway, that's all. But okay, guys, in the comment section below, tell me what you think about my top 5 list. Do you agree? If you don't agree, please give me your top 5 decks in the format in the comment section below. I'd really like to hear y'all's opinion. I'm open to you giving me a reason, saying, well, maybe Liberators should be here and Aqua Force should be there, or, or if there's a deck that I didn't mention in this top 5, give me a reason why you think it belongs there. I love feedback, guys. Please give me feedback. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video. Have a safe and fun holidays, and Merry Christmas from Team Shadow Strike.